Sonny Sharrock was an American jazz guitarist. His recording career spanned from 1969 to 1994 when he died, and there's been a few albums released posthumously. He had a slow and sporadic output, but he also did work for others, including Miles Davis, Ginger Baker, and Roy Ayers. In the 70s and the early 80s, he also worked as a chauffeur and a caretaker. In the late 80s, he worked in a punk/jazz band called Last Exit. In the 90s, he had a career revival. And in 1994, he was about to sign a deal with a major record label when he died. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the last album that was released before Sonny Sharrock died, and it's my first encounter with him, and therefore I'm completely fresh to this album. Yeah, it's one of those where I'm not entirely sure. I'm often not entirely sure how to describe these albums. In a nutshell, I would say that this is kind of a cross between free jazz and jazz rock fusion, with the particular inclusion of overdriven guitar that makes it sound like rock guitar, particularly. So the saner bits of this sound like jazz rock fusion, possibly a bit more rock than some, but that's, I think, particularly because of the guitar style that's being used. And then there are other bits, the less sane bits, I would definitely describe as being free jazz, and it's about as free as it gets, I would say. So one of my things when I'm listening to free jazz is I'm trying to work out if there is such a thing as absolutely free jazz, where there is no structure and no instructions at all, and people are just playing whatever they feel like without paying any attention to what anybody else is doing. And at times, this sounds a bit like that. It's kind of noisy, everyone play at once, chaos. But at other times, it's got more structure, and I think I prefer those bits where it's more structured. The guitar sound, I can't remember if I've just said this, it sounds a bit like Jimi Hendrix at times, I would say. Just the kind of the guitar, not just the style of the sound of the guitar, but the style of the playing as well, to some extent. However, I want to focus in on the instrument that I really did particularly enjoy listening to on this album, which was the bass. So it's a guy who's playing an acoustic bass, and his name's just flips off the top of my brain, so if you really want to know, go look it up. But he does things with this upright acoustic bass that I've never heard other people do. He does things that I wouldn't know how on earth you would approach on an upright bass, and would be difficult on an electric bass. He does all sorts of double stopping and rhythmic things and strange effects with it, and it was pretty good. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, probably. But as I said, that's the thing that I enjoyed most. So I found it more interesting than some free jazz. I wasn't so keen on the freer bits. It was okay. But overall, I actually fairly enjoyed this album. And as usual at this point, I'd like to invite you to tell me what you think. So please don't be shy. Talk to me through that comments box. That's it from me for now.